Hello and welcome to our fabulous listeners. I'm your host, Moira Geary, and this is your Positivity Project. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an author and speaker, and I have a personal development company. And I specialise in teaching people who are stressed, overwhelmed, procrastinating, and are driven by fear how to live more enriched, courageous, and calmer lives.
So, Maura Geary, that's not your only name, is it?
No, it's not, no. I'm also known as the recombobulator, BB, which I know is a bit of a tongue twister.
It is. What does it mean?
Well, what it means is, or I suppose where I came across it was, I often try to describe what I do, and people would say to me, you know the way you get a bit discombobulated, or I feel very discombobulated. And I just thought about it and said, you know, that's exactly what I do. So when people are discombobulated, I recombobulate them, meaning alignment, really.
Alignment of what with what, though?
Alignment of how they're feeling about themselves, how they're feeling about life, how they're feeling about their stress levels. And usually it is stress or maybe overwhelm that can throw people off a bit. And so they're out of kilter, I suppose, really, for another expression.
And have you been doing this all your life?
In a way, I suppose, maybe subconsciously I have, but not really, because it's interesting, because my story started off with me being what I would call Miss Positivity. So I would always look at the bright side of life, and you know, it's always I didn't do this, I wasn't aware I was doing it, but I would have had that sort of outlook. And then I was totally just bowled over about, I can't remember how many years ago now, maybe 15, 20 years ago, when I literally dipped into the most anxious and the most a depressed state, actually. And the depressed state came from the fact that I couldn't manage the anxiety. And I had no idea why I was feeling that way until I started to investigate it a bit. Now, I did go for traditional help, but that didn't really work.
By traditional help, you mean antidepressants, I suppose?
Yes, yeah. I went, and I have a lovely GP, and she was very kind, and she said, what way would I like to go? So we talked about options, and antidepressants was one, and I also went for some talk therapy, for some counselling. For me, unfortunately, that didn't work, as in the antidepressant was actually made me more anxious, so I had to come off it, which was, in hindsight, I think a very good thing. So I needed to work it out myself, really.
They work for some people, undoubtedly.
Absolutely.
But not for everyone.
Yeah.
But can you pin down this particular phase to any event in your life?
Yes, to a number of events, but they all had a similar sort of theme. And the theme was very much related to failure, and believing that I was a failure, because I had some academic failures. I had a dreadful Leaving Cert result. I can laugh about it now. If you asked me 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said it to you, because I was so ashamed. I couldn't.
But there's a lot of people, there's a big crowd in that field of failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my first one. And then I went on and was very lucky to get nursing, and I did nursing. And unfortunately, I failed the surgery aspect of my nursing, which was actually the aspect that I believed I was very good at. So go figure on that one. So the emotion that would have come with both of those would have been, initially, the first emotion is shame. So I was very ashamed, because I always thought I was strong and resilient and capable.
So anybody out there watching today, if they are in the middle of that sense of failure, the first emotion you're saying will be shame.
Well, that's what I felt. I would imagine, and this is just from experience of working with people, I'm not going to say that everybody will feel shame, because we all react differently to different things. However, with the number of people that I would have worked with over the years, which at this stage now is thousands, generally that would be the initial feeling, and following right behind it is fear. So fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of not being good enough. And that's really where it started. Now, I wasn't terribly aware of it, because I suppose I felt that was a normal reaction to something like that. So, but in our subconscious and in our neurology, when we feel an emotion very strongly, our body and our subconscious is very clever. So it stores the memory and stores the feeling associated to the memory. So even though I'd stored it, it was very deep, and I didn't need it to come back to the fore again until I was about to step out and do something that was out of my comfort zone. So
how did you actually get out of it, though? Was it difficult?
Was it difficult? I would say it was a long enough process rather than difficult for me, because I needed to work things out. So I did it slowly. And I actually enjoyed the analysis of it and the analysis of myself. However, helping people to see their world in a different way, which is what I do now, it can be quite quick. It can be, fairly quick for people. When I say quick, it really depends. It's like everything, BB. If somebody turns up and they want to actually have a different perspective on their lives and they want to feel better and they want to do the work, definitely those people are more inclined to get a result quicker.
Well, would I be right in saying that there's not much point in anybody coming to you unless they're in the right frame of mind to tackle these events?
Absolutely, absolutely. And really what I'm doing is educating. I'm showing people how to see it from a different angle, as well as work on their belief systems and work on what they value in life and work on the fact that the story or the thing that has happened in the past, which for me it was academic failure, and I had feelings associated to that. That happened, but really it wasn't relevant in my now. So it was important that I decided to make a choice on whether I wanted it to impact my life now and going forward and impact my decisions and my results, or whether I wanted to actually let go of those feelings associated to that.
You strike me, Moira, as a very strong woman.
Yes.
Do you have to be strong in order to succeed as much as you have done?
When you say strong, I presume you mean I come across, and this is what people always would say, oh, but you're so confident. BB, when I was in my worst and darkest days, I was like this as well. So it's amazing that we often perceive people to be very strong and that you have it all together. And that's one thing I noticed and I don't see one-to-ones anymore, but when I did see one-to-ones, these beautiful, amazing, strong, magnificent people would walk in the door. And I've never met somebody who doesn't need a little bit of recombobulating, because we've all had past.
Such a person doesn't exist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, now, may I just finally ask, you got out of that very black period in your life. Did it ever recur again?
Okay. That is a brilliant question. And I think this is where a lot of people get a little bit confused about, the process of this. So I had memories where I had shame associated to my failures or perceived failures, because I call them perceived failures now. I can laugh about them now. I couldn't in the past. So I had feelings associated to those memories, but those feelings were stored in my body. So they were always there and ready to come back up again if I was about to step into a situation where I might need to protect myself.
But what do you mean, Moira? Those feelings were stored in your body?
Yes, we physically, if you think of it, BB, if you think back to a memory in your past where you felt elated and excited and the most joyful day of your life, what happens is your subconscious mind recreates the picture in your head. That's how you can actually source the memory. But when you do that, your subconscious actually doesn't understand the difference between reality and imagination. And when it doesn't, it's going to react emotionally to what it's perceiving is happening now. So you have that ability and the feeling associated to that memory stored in your body, so you can recreate it. And that's what we would call associating into a very happy and joyful memory. So you're bringing up a really good feeling. But unfortunately, we do the same for negative memories and negative emotions. Now, the other side of that is that the subconscious mind, its primary function is to protect you. So which memory do you think is going to keep popping up if it's trying to protect you?
I would say we're probably all prone to the negative stuff.
Yes, it is. And it's not any fault of anybody's. It's just that the subconscious is looking to protect you, so it's going to pull the negative one up because it's shouting at you saying, watch out. Don't go there. Don't get on stage. Don't go to that interview. You're going to fail that driving test, all of that sort of thing. And people think that it's actually getting in the way or disempowering you, but really the primary function of the subconscious is to protect you, so it's inclined to do that.
And you have techniques that you can teach people to try to overcome this.
Yes, absolutely. Now, it's really important, and this goes back to a question you asked me earlier. So if I've memories in the past where I've associated negative emotion to those memories, and again, this isn't good or bad, right or wrong, it just is what it is. So I can make a decision on whether I'd like to actually let go of those feelings and release them from my body so I don't have them reoccurring again associated to those memories. That does not mean that I won't feel shame again. It does not mean I won't feel fear going forward into the future, because it's really important that I have that ability to feel all emotions, because the emotions that we feel are what drive us. That the emotion will drive your behavior. So if I'm feeling very confident about something, the chances of me going and stepping out of my comfort zone are much greater than if I'm feeling that I'm a failure or I'm not good enough or what will people think of me or whatever it is, the negative, disempowering belief and emotion.
Negative, disempowering. That's very strong stuff, isn't it?
I know, isn't it?
Would you explain it to us?
Yeah. So when I will again, when I talk about negative or disempowering belief systems, it's a very personal thing. So for me, I would consider a belief system where I believe that I'm not good enough, or like I did, I wasn't clever, I wasn't academically capable. So if I'm trying to achieve something in that area or that field, or to improve myself maybe in my career or in my education, holding on to that belief system, disempowering and negative, is not necessarily going to be the best one if I want to achieve something. But it's really important that we highlight that I'm not saying that that is a bad or a good or a right or a wrong belief system, because the question I always say to clients or people that turn up at events is, ask yourself, is it serving you? If it's not serving you, then you can make a choice. Do I want to hold on to it, or would I like to let it go, or would I like to change it?
Well, if it's not serving you, you have to let it go.
Yeah, with some people might choose that it might be a little bit uncomfortable to let it go, because even though life mightn't be very comfortable or okay or happy, but subconsciously sometimes people feel, well, if I let it go, I have no idea what's next. So that can be quite scary for people as well, you know. So it's very important. And even when I work with clients, or any of my students work with clients, one of the most important things to check is what we call the ecology of doing work. So I would never give anybody advice, I never do. And I never would say to somebody, oh, that's a disempowering belief, you better get rid of that. Because it's not for me to make any decision or any choice on anybody's future or anybody's present. It's up to the client to make a decision on. And usually, like, if people are going to come and do some work with me, they're looking to improve their lives in some way. They want to get that job. They want to go to college. They want to stop stressing. They want to get rid of their overwhelm or their procrastination. I know they're big words, but I think people generally know, basically, if they're stuck, they're the types of things that will keep them stuck.
And you have the techniques to
Yes.
help us all overcome this
Yes,
awfulness.
absolutely, absolutely.